Riverdale sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes from season 2 of Riverdale.
Ooh.
And you'll never guess this, my friends, but when we were watching the first of these 2 episodes, the quality wasn't very good on and Brenton's like, what's wrong with I wonder if the file came over bad. He starts really get it. And I was like, I think it's just not as pretty. I don't think any of it's as pretty as the first season.
No, yeah.
I think it drops in visual, I'm not 100%. There's still nice scenes, but I think it drops in I don't know, pixel quality. I don't really know how to describe what's going on.
So it did look fixed on the second episode. So okay. I don't know what was up with the first episode. And I bet this would all be fixed if we either ponied up for Netflix's top streaming thing, which we're not going to do, or we bought the Blu-rays. But I don't think
we might need to do the way the world's going.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be. Yeah. Oh God, we better do it quick before there's tariffs. I don't think it looks quite. I mean, it's still. I'm like, okay, this actually looks better than I remembered transition to be. But I don't think there's as quite that same visual flair to it with a lot of different dynamic shots and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it still looks especially compared to other TV and then other soaps, looks great.
It does look nice.
But
But I just giggled immediately. You're like, what's wrong with the quality on this? That I'm still just trying to figure out what's happening in the plot. I'm not wearing my glasses, so it all looks about the same.
Well, not to get
it's just not as bright.
Not to get on too big a soapbox, but Netflix's streaming sucks. I remember watching Dead Boy Detectives, and there's a lot of blacks in that, and they just come through. You could see all the pixelation around the edges and things. It looked bad.
I could not see that.
Yeah.
Or I didn't notice it. Let me rephrase. I didn't notice it. I was focused on the plot.
Yeah. There's other things. But
it's funny because I usually have really good attention to detail, but this is one thing that I don't necessarily have an eye for. Or it's never been, I was going to say it's never been pointed out to me, but that's not true at all.
I only really started noticing it with watching Dead Boy Detectives last year and being like, good God, what's going on?
Which I love that show, and I'm very mad about them not bringing it back.
Exactly. This is two for two on bringing up Dead Boy Detectives and how much we're annoyed that it didn't come back on episodes. Netflix, if you're listening, bring it back.
Every episode, I was just I miss Dead Boy Detectives. I felt like that after they ended Sabrina, too. I was like, I wanted more.
Yeah.
Which we'll have to figure out soon where we're going to put that in our timeline so that we have the context for when there's some crossover in later seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I'm debating, and people can sound off. It's either we insert it around, I think, 4 or 5, right around there's a time jump, or we just go into it without context and we watch Sabrina after the end of the show. Because Sabrina is 40 episodes-ish. I think it's 36 when we looked it up.
What if we looked up release order?
I think it goes season 3 Sabrina and then back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a weird straddling there because I don't think Sabrina gets a cameo until season 6.
Correct.
So, but I do want to do Katie Keene in between the time jump.
I'm wondering if in between Riverdale seasons we do one season of Sabrina, and then we come back to Riverdale, and then we
could do that,
and then we do the other season of Sabrina, and then we come back to Riverdale, and then we do the season of Katie Keene, and then we come back, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that could be something because especially
because they also
Sabrina caps at 10 episodes, 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let us know what you prefer. But I like that idea.
Well.
Oh, yeah. Let's get on to season 2 stuff. So, season 2. Season 1 was such a hit that they brought it back for season 2 and expanded it to 22 episodes. So now we're doing This is also, so 2017 to 2018. This is like not what the direction shows were heading either. So it's also, I think, pretty interesting that this got like a classic full syndicated television sort of like run on CW. So anyways, let us move on to our cast for this week. All right, cast for this week, we've got exciting people. We got lots of new characters to cover in season 2. Very excited to get to. But we'll start out with the heavy hitter,
Mr. Kelly Ripa.
That's right, Mark Consuelos himself playing Hiram Lodge. So in the comics, Hiram has like a similar antagonistic relationship to what you'll later see in this season and coming episodes of an antagonistic relationship with Archie, because he doesn't approve of Archie dating his daughter Veronica. So that carries over in the from the comics into here. But as for the man himself, so rose to prominence as a television actor on the soap opera All My Children, which is where he also met his wife, Kelly Ripa, only a year into working there. She was his on-screen love interest, and they're secretly married in Vegas in May of 1996. We love that for him.
I love it. They now have like one of those like daytime talk show, morning shows or whatever together.
Because she was always
she had Regis and Kelly.
Yes. And so she has just stayed on there as multiple people have rotated through.
And so they let her bring her husband this time.
Exactly.
He is a beneficiary of nepotism in this case.
Yeah, starting in 2023.
So recent.
Yeah, he was on All My Children from 95 to 2002 and then came back in 2010. He played Mateo Santos.
Oh.
I know. He has lots of different credits. I think unsurprisingly, like especially post All My Children, because like soap operas are a lot of work. They film like a ton of those. Like that's strict schedule. So hats off to that. But was on a weekly live episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show where they would have a panel. This is in the show's 23rd season, which had him, I don't know, Ali Wentworth, Oprah, and Gail.
I don't remember this.
I don't either.
What year is this?
Let's see. When was Oprah's 23rd season?
That's so funny.
I know. It was, let's see. When did it first air? Do we have a date? 2008.
Okay. I was in high school. I was busy.
Yeah, I was doing other things. But I was like, that's wild. And then also had a recurring role in American Horror Story Asylum. But started out in the 90s. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so in that second season.
Because I watched that before I watched Riverdale. I never put that together.
Yeah. So do you remember him?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to be so for real with you. American Horror Story, season 1 obviously was the most psychologically scarring for lots of reasons. But season 2, that's Asylum, I'm pretty sure. Yes. I just remember the end. Because I'm pretty sure they get, like, spoilers, they get beamed up in a UFO or, like something weird happens at the end of Aliens. Maybe I'm making shit up. I don't know. I used to fall asleep watching it. But
oh, my God. That's
And then
incredible.
The third season was the Witches one, which was really good. But
everybody hated, right?
Everyone hated it. I was like, if this had been its own show, it's because it was about women. Anyway, I digress. That's my theory. That's my really old take. I don't know if that would hold up if I watched it now. Please don't hold me to it.
Right. No, you heard it here. Well, I mean, you also like Sabrina, so, you know.
Yeah, I would put more money on Sabrina, though, than I would the show I watched in 2015, maybe.
Right, but if you have recommendations on which TV shows.
I do like a witch TV show.
Yeah. All right, so on to our next... Oh, wait. 1 minute? There we go. Just had to click in the other window. On to our next actor, Reggie Mantle, who in this season is now played by Charles Melton. So Charles Melton, this is like his first big thing, but had like previous acting roles in like as guest spots on Glee and American Horror Story. So Ryan
So can
Murphy.
he sing?
I don't
Or
know.
is he just like in the background on Glee? Not everyone on Glee, you know.
Not everybody sings on Glee, you know.
I actually never really watched Glee.
I watched like a season and a half.
I watched it like with people, so I didn't watch Glee. Does that make sense? Like,
no, watched it every week. And then he was so guest starring or co-starring this season, series regular, starting in the third season. But the big thing was a male model like before this, like modeling. And then that's how he got his start. And then the big thing as Riverdale's ending, is his role in May December, which got like a ton of acclaim. I think he got a few award nominations too. That's the Todd Haynes movie. But in the comics, Reggie is seen as a prankster, always playing practical jokes on other students, especially Archie, as we see in these episodes.
Yeah, he smacks Archie on the butt, which makes me laugh so hard.
He does bring such a different vibe to it.
I pretend like this is a different character.
It really is.
Because I think the old Reggie was kind of like older than Archie, and this Reggie's definitely the same year as Archie.
And there's like repressed anger in the old one, and this one he's just kind of like the smooth, like cocky asshole.
You know what happens when you start doing jingle jangle?
That's right. And then in the comics, he's also frenemies with Archie. There you go. And then doing a bit of a cleanup from characters in other seasons. So Asha Bromfield plays Melody Valentine. In the comics, she's like the dumb blonde. So if you've seen the Josie and the Pussycats movie, which is played by Tara Reid, that's where you get that. But Melody just doesn't really have as much character on Riverdale. But was also, we didn't watch this on Netflix. The name of the show rung a bell, Lock and Key. She was on that as Zadie Wells. But is also the author of 2 books. One came out in 2021. It was called Hurricane Summer. And the second one, Song of Irie, came out in 2023. They're both like coming of age stories set in like around Jamaica, like around different things. So one is a girl who's like distant from her father and goes to like spend a summer with him. So that's Hurricane Summer. And the second one is like a love story between 2 women or 2 girls in like the 70s in Jamaica as like revolution's happening. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
How cool.
I'm like, oh, they seem interesting.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. All right. So Pop Tate, played by Alvin Sanders, also a voice actor in like tons of things. Oh, I closed the tab. So I was going to just go back over because I didn't recognize some of these. Okay. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a role and he got the role. This is not on him. I want to preface this, but he's Mr. Popo in Dragon Ball Z. Now, Mr. Popo is extremely racist. Like the caricature is terrible. So, you know what? You can go look up Mr. Popo. I'll show you in just a sec on your own time. But, good for him. I'm glad he got the work. But, boy, yeah. Mr. Popo was a rough one. Was Manton on Inuyasha. Inuyasha was on late, so I couldn't watch it consistently.
Still can't. Brenton falls asleep at about 9:30 every night.
I couldn't stay up and watch late night Toonami if I wanted to. But I knew a lot of people at the time were into Inuyasha, and I watched it a couple times. I mean, girl from regular world goes through a portal fantasy sort of thing with like demons, and they're like cat demons.
Oh, that sounds right up my street.
Yeah, it's also like long as hell. That's all I know about it.
As in, like, there's a lot of episodes, or is each episode as long?
No, yeah, there's a ton of episodes.
I was like, I don't think you can do that on.
And then was in like Transformers series as Demolisher. I don't know Demolisher. So there you go. But was also like had a bunch of small roles and things. Was recently in Resident Alien again for your parents there, and was a guard in the movie Life Size. Do you remember the movie Life Size?
What do you mean? Do I remember the movie Life Size?
I don't know if I think I've only seen I remember my sister had it, but I don't know if I've actually seen Life Size. Where
Tyra Banks goes from being a doll to a person because the girl uses her brush to try to bring her mom back from the dead and ends up bringing her doll to life. Because the hair in the hairbrush is actually the doll's. It's not her mother's.
And it's Lindsay Lohan, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Lindsay Lohan.
Looking at the movie, yeah.
Is it Lindsay Lohan? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's where I
watched it so young, I didn't know who Lindsay Lohan was. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what year Life Size came out.
And that's the meme where Tyra Banks is at the computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched Life Size a lot, though. I watched it I feel like my cousin Megan and I watched it a lot.
Okay. I can see it. It seems like a fun movie.
I think it's funny that I remember the Tyra Banks more than the Lindsay Lohan. Because I was a Lindsay Lohan kid. I loved...
But I mean, it could have come out before Parent Trap.
Thank you. I was like, why can't I remember the movie?
It could have been before then. I don't have the year up. I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
You keep going and I'll look that up.
Well, our final actor for this week, Tom McBeath.
2000. Life Size was 2000.
Oh, so you would have known.
Yeah, I just didn't remember.
Yeah. Tom McBeath.
Parent Trap was 1998, though.
Yeah. So it was pretty close by.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
That's all right. Plays Smithers, who is known for Colonel Harold May Bourne in Stargate SG-1. A lot of people it's interesting, the shows that overlap of like, if you're above a certain age, then you were on like some sci-fi original shows or you're from soaps. Also multiple roles in X-Files and small roles in tons of movies like Time Cop, Double Jeopardy, Watchmen. This is what I also wrote down.
That's not true. Also 80s heartthrobs.
Yes. 80s heartthrobs.
They didn't all do sci-fi.
No,
I don't think Molly
Luke Perry did not.
I don't think Molly did a sci-fi.
No, I don't think Skeet Ulrich. Yeah. So there you go.
Imagine. I mean, what do you call Twin Peaks?
When it starts speaking of, aliens aren't really on screen, but like the Secret History book like starts connecting it to aliens. That's all Mark Frost is doing. But Tom McBeath is also a stage actor. There you go.
Love it.
That is it for this week. We will move over to the summary. All right. Now we're back to the other summary.
I won't move at all.
You're not going to move?
No, you move to the summary, but I don't move.
I gotta
you got to do lots of things. I guess I could have done it for you. The mouse is in front of me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do that next time.
I could help you.
People like the dynamism of me moving around.
It's really great on an audio podcast.
Exactly. For the people to just have dead air for a few seconds and then like...
We're really professional and we're really talented, and thank you so much for being here.
That's right. Chapter 14, A Kiss Before Dying. So a little background on this. This comes from a 1953 crime novel adapted into 2 movies. Some believe also that Fred's Coma Dreams is an homage to a Beverly Hills 90210 episode. The episode also ends with notes from the Rosemary's Babies theme. Rosemary's Baby... Yeah,
theme song?
I said it right. Yeah. This is also Riverdale's highest rated episode. So I think, again, lending credence to a lot of people watching this on Netflix continuing on. But I think a lot of the interest coming from season 1, people jumping onto season 2. And then you infer what that might mean for future episodes.
I think it's interesting that more shows didn't do this with how successful this was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that the CW and Netflix didn't do more of these. Or other television.
Yeah,
networks.
I wonder what broke down. Maybe it didn't, for CW, felt like it didn't.
Some adult men probably had a tantrum and wanted more money.
They probably their ownership probably changed.
It's always adult men's fault.
It is. It's private equity.
It could have been a woman, I guess. I don't know who made these decisions, but I just assume.
It's fair enough. This is also the first episode that Casey Cott is part of the main cast. So welcome to the main cast. And then Jughead, when he calls Archie Pureheart the Powerful, like, you should be a superhero. That's like Archie's like superhero identity in the comics.
Wow.
So there you go. All right. So one day after the Jubilee, Jughead narrates Archie trying to drive his dad to the hospital and says that Archie doesn't even have a license.
Which makes me wonder how they were supposed to go on a road trip at the beginning in the summer. Who was driving on that road trip? Is Jughead licensed?
I don't think so. Because
he drives the motorcycle.
So, but motorcycle licenses are, at least in California, you can get it younger.
Really?
Yeah. So my friend in high school... You
can get a motorcycle license younger than a car?
Mm-hmm. My friend in high school, I think you can get it at 15 in California, or at least back in the mid-aughts. Because my friend who wanted to get around places got a Vespa and got his motorcycle license. So like he could get it, and he got it at like 15, so he can go like drive around everywhere. So
very interesting.
I know. He gets Fred to the hospital in time. His dad goes in for surgery and has a dream of Archie and friends at the graduation. They're like, but you didn't live to see this. And he realizes it's a dream as the gunman with the mask walks by with a gun.
It was so mean.
He has really dark dreams.
Me too when I take pain meds. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, man, every surgery I've come out of, I'm fine during the surgery. Like I don't have any dreams, you know, you're not supposed to. You're basically like dead. But then if I take pain meds and try to sleep, I usually have really bad.
So it's the
dreams.
morphine's fault, not the anesthesia.
Exactly. Well, anesthesia makes you forget.
Oh, right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Alice asks Betty about her plans after the Jubilee. Betty's like, well, I went with Jughead back to FP's trailer. And Alice is like, oh my God, he defiled you. And Betty's like, well, we were interrupted by the serpents. We didn't even get to do that. And Alice...
Betty's been telling everyone she didn't get to fuck. Which
exactly.
I live for women's liberation.
She's like, kind of threw a wet
Mom, I didn't get to have sex with my boyfriend because the serpent showed up. I thought it was going to be you.
Thought it was finally going to be... Exactly. This gets Alice going, and Betty gets a call from Archie. Oh, yeah, in this scene, Alice calls Jughead Snake Plissken. I love this.
I also love this because, like, we know from FP that snakes don't shed their skin so easily. So I'm like, okay, Alice, why are we so upset about our daughter running around with serpents when you grew up on the other side of the tracks?
Isn't that interesting? Can't shake it off you. Veronica wakes up and has a mimosa, and Hermione's mad about this.
Well, she opens the crystal.
Exactly. It's meant for Hiram. Betty calls Veronica and Jughead to update them. Jughead heads outside and hops on a new motorcycle, complete with helmet that has a little crown on it. Cuts to the hospital as the friends and the parents
I think it's FP's motorcycle.
It is. We find that out later. The friends and the parents arrive to Archie in the waiting room. Archie tells them about what happened, but hesitates before telling them the gunman bolted. Alice comes back with information on Fred, and he's going to be in surgery for a while, and Hermione suggests Archie call his mom. Alice stares down Jughead as Betty tells her to stop it. Alice blames the serpents for shooting Fred, and Jughead says, at least you can't accuse my dad. He's in jail. Archie calls his mom and tells her what happened. Sheriff Keller arrives, and he asks to talk to Archie alone, and Jughead offers to tag along, which Archie agrees to. Archie gives his account of the gunman and says it wasn't a ski mask, but a black hood that he was wearing over his head, and that he cut out the eye holes for. Archie has a gap in his account of what the gunman did after he shot Fred, but says he just shot Fred and ran out. Sheriff Keller says he was probably a drug addict, high on Jingle Jangle, the new street drug. Jughead says, what if it wasn't a robbery? What if it was Target? And Sheriff Keller says he could have had a grudge against Fred, but it's too early to tell. Veronica worries about having to show up to help Archie, and Betty's like, you won't fail him. You can do this. Jughead asks if Archie was holding something back, and Archie's like, changed the subject and asks if the serpents were pissed about being fired, and maybe they went after Fred, and Jughead says they'll investigate. The doctors come out and say Fred is out of surgery, but he isn't breathing on his own, and suggest Archie can see him in a little bit, but give him an hour or so, and Archie doesn't want to leave, but everybody encourages him to go home and change. Fred has another dream where Archie is bugging him to leave Andrew's construction, but he's like, no, this doesn't feel right. Archie keeps pushing him to leave and says their dead relatives are waiting for him, and then they start banging on the door. Archie and Veronica come home. Archie goes to watch his dog, and Veronica says, I'll do it. And he's like, have you ever actually walked a dog before? And so they instead go to Walk Vegas together. Jughead meets with a couple of serpents to ask if they'll help find out who shot Fred. I believe this is Tall Boy, and I believe the other one's name is Ben Button. Ben Button. They agree to help. Archie showers and is upset. Veronica comes in to help by joining him in the shower. Kevin and Betty are at the hospital, and Kevin asks if Jughead and Betty had sex, and Betty says, no, but we said we loved each other, and Kevin's like, no. And then she tells him about, the serpents, and Kevin is like, do not date a serpent member. Remember Joaquin? Cheryl arrives in her nurse whites with a red heart pinning her skirt together. Looks great. She came in with her mom, who's covered in bandages, and tells Betty and Veronica Thornhill burned down. She says she was asleep, that her mom rushed into the flames to save her and got third-degree burns. Told Betty and Kevin. Because Veronica, meanwhile, is at Archie's house and pulled Fred's items out of the bag from the hospital, but Archie finds that his wallet is missing and freaks out that it's gone, and freaks out at Veronica and tells her to leave. She goes to leave but stops and turns around and says, you're not going to push me away. You shouldn't be alone right now, and Archie breaks down crying. Archie gets a call from Sheriff Keller and goes to the station to identify a suspect. He looks through the suspects in the lineup, and none of them are right. Veronica tells Betty that Archie's at the station, asks them to look out for, or Betty and Jughead to look out for Fred's wallet. Jughead wonders if the attack was premeditated. Veronica spots her mom walking off, so she goes to follow. Betty is apprehensive getting on the back of Jughead's bike, but they ride off to find the wallet. Hermione goes to the hospital chapel to pray, and Veronica joins her. Veronica asks if she put a hit out on Fred and accuses her of being Hiram's eyes and ears on the ground. Hermione gets pissed and tells her to get back in line with his family. Reggie and the Pussycats came to the hospital to give well wishes to Archie. Archie gets allowed to see his dad, but he hasn't woken up yet, and the doctor says for him to talk to him to coax him back. Archie talks to Fred, and Fred has a dream that Archie is showing him the engagement ring for Veronica. Fred shows it to Pop, who says time dies, and Fred's wound shows up on his stomach. Jughead and Betty arrive at Pop's and find a puddle of blood just in the middle of the floor. Pops tries to say it's closed, but Betty tells them they're here to search for Fred's wallet. Jughead asks what happens. Pop says, I don't know. I dove down after the gun was off me, and the gunman didn't take any money. Pop says he wasn't a thief, but he was like the angel of death. Betty doesn't find the wallet, and Jughead takes Pop up on his offer to eat, so they have a weird meal at the counter. Betty asks about putting on the Serpent jacket, and the Jughead seems happy about it. Jughead's like, well, I'm not a Serpent. And she asks about his foster family, and Jughead says he won't be staying there. He'll be at the trailer now, and they agreed to cover for him. Jughead says wearing his dad's jacket and riding his bike actually does mean something, and Betty worries about him getting hurt or someone else getting hurt because that's the Serpent's world. Like, you know, it's a more violent and volatile world. Cheryl visits her mom, who's awake, and she tells her that she can never tell the truth about the fire or should tell everyone what really happened in the barn with their dad. So I'm assuming Cheryl's like saying that Penelope killed Clifford? Or did they just not reveal that Clifford killed himself?
I don't know.
I don't think it comes back around.
I can't remember.
Anyway, but it sounds also like that Penelope went back into the fire to get a painting and then got burned. Cheryl threatens her that the only reason she was alive because of her, and Cheryl is holding on to her like breathing tubes and then lets go and says it's going to be a brand new start for us.
I love this, Cheryl.
Veronica brings Archie a brand new wallet for Fred as a gift. Archie thanks her for all her help. Archie asks if he can tell her about what happened at Pop's, but Jughead comes in with food, interrupting him. Later that evening, the friends are all alone and they're finished eating. Archie looks upset and says he hasn't said something because he was ashamed. After Fred was shot, he didn't go attack the gunman, but instead just froze and then listened to the gunman when he came up and put the gun on him and got on the ground and closed his eyes until the gunman was gone. He thinks he was a coward and worries the gunman may come back. Archie goes to visit his dad and finds Cheryl at his dad's bedside and kisses him on the forehead. She says, you gave me the kiss of life, Archie. Now I've given it to your dad. Archie talks to his dad after she leaves as Fred has a dream of Archie and Veronica having a Scottish wedding complete with banners. Fred notices Jason and Clifford in the crowd and then sees the Black Hood come walking up, but nobody notices, and Fred jumps in front of the gun and wakes up. Archie apologizes to his dad and says he'll protect him, and Fred said, this is why I came back, to protect you, son. Jughead and Betty go to leave the hospital. Betty says, whatever you need to do or explore, I support you. You know, you need to wear the leather jacket, you know, if that's
you need to ride a motorcycle if that's what you need to do.
Exactly. They kiss. Jughead arrives home to find the Serpents in the trailer with a guy beat to shit and tied to the chair. After interrogating the guy, they found he didn't do anything. They brought him to the trailer to show that Jughead that they would honor their word to FP. Veronica comes home and finds her dad. He says it was disrespectful of her not to be home and greet him. She says she's changed and asks if he has. Veronica says Fred woke up and it will definitely make it. I'm sure we're all happy about that. We find that Mary came to town to help, and Archie stays awake and sits in between his front and back doors with a bat to protect the house. We cut to Grundy in Greendale teaching a student piano lesson. She kisses him goodbye and then locks her door, notices her windows open when behind her the Black Hood appears, who strangles her. The end.
All right. So the theme I could pull out of the weeds of this murky mess of the seedy town of Riverdale, if you will.
That's right.
Where people get shot at the chocolate shop.
There's gang members running all around with their jackets,
who
their
don't
motorcycles.
do anything but ride their motorcycles around and maybe
beat people up.
trash the drive-in. Yeah, but they beat people up on their own side of town.
That's true, and they just bring them back over.
And he was like at a Serpent bar or whatever. It's not like he was like, some kid walking home from high school.
That's right. And then they brought him to Jughead like a cat bringing in a dead bird. Like, see?
That's so good. It's so true. So my thoughts on this is like, who are we really? And like, who do we believe we are? Like, Jughead truly believes until that very last scene that he can balance this world. Like, he can be both Jughead in his beanie and Jughead in his serpent jacket, and Betty's Jughead with neither.
Mm-hmm.
And he truly believes or is trying to be all of these things. And he's also intentionally leaving Betty in the dark about things. Like he's, tapping into his serpent network, if you will.
Right.
His serpent spy network
Mm-hmm.
to find out what happened to Fred, or potentially find out, and just really utilizing all of his resources. But at the same time, like, does he really have the control he thinks he has?
Right. Which, next episode builds on where he doesn't. And he also is lying. We could say it seems more that he's lying to her than he's lying to himself about how much he enjoys embodying this like new Jughead.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I'm just trying to figure things out. And she's like, okay. But it's like he's not being fully honest about, like, I feel much more embodied this way.
But this is a place where I have power.
Mm-hmm.
And control. I'm in control for once.
Right.
I'm making decisions and people respond to them. It's very interesting. I just really like his Serpent Detective Agency, though. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, go find out about this for me. And what's his name is like, yeah.
Tall Boy.
Thank you, Tall Boy.
It's a great name. That's a great... He's tall guy, but also tall boy, like tall can. Like,
mm-hmm.
We love it.
They do make a mess of his apartment. We don't love that. Or his trailer, I should say.
His home. Yeah, I wouldn't want, a bloody guy in my home.
No one can say. it's low on my list. My other thing about Jughead in this too is Jughead is quickly assuming that someone is intentionally, he's like, it was a hit. He's got these like instincts to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels very Spencer Hastings in a way. He's like, no, this was an attack. And you're like, was it?
Everybody's like looking at him like, we literally don't know any of the facts yet.
While we, the people watching the show, can easily be like, well, yeah, because we have to have a murder mystery of some sort. Like, it's very unlikely that someone is being shot for just for funsies in a show like this. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly. It's
there's
not just some random
intentionality.
thing. Yeah. But I think at least what we should all be thinking, it's like, who was the actual target?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't seem like it was originally Fred.
Yeah, was it Fred? Was it Archie? Was it Pop? Was it just to destroy Pops? Like, was it to make it seem like a not safe place?
Right.
There's a lot of questions I got there,
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, even though I know the identity of the Black Hood, I don't remember how this ties in.
Uh-huh.
So we are also in the dark.
I think I remember.
Oh, okay.
Question mark?
I am in the dark.
Archie is also trying to grapple with who he is and the fact that he did not be the hero he expected himself to be. He is not performing as the person he expects himself to be. He can't protect his family. He can't protect his friends. He can't really fix anything. And like, it's a similar kind of issue that he had in the last season where he's just like, I want to fix this thing for Jughead. I want to fix these things. And like, Archie can't.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know what to do with himself when he can't do that. And he makes reckless decisions. So he really just carries that arc in a new way. And then he also just is like, well, I guess I'll behave like a Doberman now and I'll sit by the door.
Right.
Also, where is Vegas in that scene? I'm like, if I was sitting by the door, where my Labrador would have been?
Right next to you.
Sitting by the door. Oh, we're going to watch The Door tonight?
You think Vegas is actually probably up with Fred, like, okay, time to cuddle.
Yeah, Vegas is like, I'm in bed. Why is Archie up?
Knowing labs, it's they were protected anything.
Well, no, but they tell you someone was there.
That's true.
They'd be like, it's a friend.
Mm-hmm.
But Archie with his milk crate in his back. Also, his mom goes upstairs. It doesn't come back downstairs. Doesn't question why her son's got a milk crate by the door.
Right. And like sitting there with the lights on and everything. But yeah, he's increasingly trying to do things all on his own. Again, that he's not pulling in any of his friends to like help figure this out or troubleshoot. But it's also really tied to masculinity because he wants to make up for, in a lot of sense, for being a coward as well. It's like, oh, if he comes back, I will fight back this time. I will be the strong man. Not like really I was before.
I'll be brave this time. I was scared. He's not going to get me scared again.
Exactly.
Another thing I thought was interesting in this episode is Jughead is the like truth identifier of the group because he's like, I could tell when my dad was lying. And now with Archie, he's like, I could tell when Archie was lying. And I'm just like, but when are you lying, Jughead?
That's exactly. And
who can tell when you're lying? Can anyone?
I
thought it was a really good little thing.
Yeah, totally. Because it seems like Betty can sense it, but doesn't want to push.
No, she's like, this is my new boyfriend. And he said he loved me.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he's a serpent. To be honest.
Give him a chance, right?
Yeah.
Don't judge a book by his jacket.
I love a leather jacket.
That's right.
They got those embroidered.
Fits in like a glove, too.
I think that's so funny when she's like, if the jacket fits you like a glove. And I'm like, I know that was like a metaphor, but like it's obviously custom. Like,
they made this for you, Jughead.
No, it's like you're supposed to look like worn leather, but then at the same time, you're like, who was his size?
Right, exactly. Wasn't it supposed to be like his dad's? No, they brought it to him.
They brought it to him.
Yeah. So it wasn't just like an FP's closet.
The other thing I find really funny in this episode is all of a sudden every parent has decided they're going to be nice to Archie. Like in this scene, Hermione's like, have you called your mom? And Alice is like, your dad's tough, Archie. And you're like,
who are you?
Alice, you sent him into a potential murderer's house, and Hermione, you hate him.
Well,
that's not true. You like his dad, to be honest.
Right.
But then she's like, well, call your mom. And I was like, so if they had really followed the plot line of Hermione and
Fred?
No. What's Archie's mom's name?
Oh, Mary.
Mary, like being a thing. I would have been into that because that would have been fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Like if there had been some sort of affair with them because she's like, did you call your mom? Like we could have set this up. It could have been right there.
That would have been good. It would have been juicy. Yeah. I think unfortunately with the introduction of Hiram, Hermione becomes extremely one note. And just kind of horrible. Yeah, I don't look forward to that.
No. The other person grappling with who they are, but by extension of who their family is Veronica. Like Veronica is like, if my dad is this person, what does that say about my family? And what does that say about me? And I don't want to be that person. And she's grappling with not being that person for Archie and like making sure that she's a better girlfriend than she would be if she was being her old self. And like discarding, she is shedding her skin, if you will.
Yeah, the actively trying to do better. We love that.
I really like that. I really like Archie's mean to her and she's like, fine, but I'm not leaving.
Yeah, I think that's done. I mean, I think that's done well. And I think because it's playing both Veronica and Betty are in the more traditional, like, women, quote unquote, women's role of like taking care of like a boyfriend or, partner in that way while they have their volatile emotions. It's like they like calm them down and stuff. But I think it works well with like Archie because it's like he's so in over his head, this over thing. And then she's also going like, no, I'm not going to leave because he's in a traumatic situation. So you can kind of, like you offer him grace because also they do a really good job, and I think KJ Apa does.
He does a really good job in this episode.
Of just being like when he's talking to his mom, of being like a kid. Just like sounding like a kid, like, I don't know, Mom, it's all bad. And then Veronica also being like, you can't be alone. So I think that works really nicely.
I also really like that she's more worried about being a bad person than she actually is a bad person. Like she's not a bad person, and she has rarely been... She's done some things that you're like, I wouldn't have done that, but she's not been a bad person since she arrived in Riverdale.
No, We love that.
I mean, should she have kissed Archie in the closet?
Yeah, you know.
But who
Make
hasn't
mistakes.
kissed a cute boy when you're locked in a closet?
That's right.
I've never been locked in a closet.
Exactly.
And I plan
That's
to
why
keep
I'm not.
But, you know, in theory.
I understand. And, you know, you're new in town. You're still figuring things out. But
In terms of like family dynamic and like really like accepting who they are too, we get Cheryl just fully reintegrating who she is into herself. And just like,
yes.
one, I love her. You gave me the kiss of life, so now I'll give it to your dad.
I know.
Because I'm like, yes. And then he wakes up. I'm not saying.
I know. I think it was Cheryl's doing.
Also, did the kiss get wiped off his forehead by Archie, or did it get absorbed into his skin? Was it magic? Were they already introducing the magic and we just didn't know? Or did they just forget to put the kiss back on his forehead when they filmed the next scene?
No, it's magic.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's the Cheryl, not promise, but, oh, well, that's all right.
But
Not
I like
important.
Cheryl's like, things are going to be different now, Mommy. I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. And I can kill you right now.
Yeah. I'm in control. It's all about taking control too. It's like these kids trying to have control over in a world that is very uncontrollable.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Even Betty's trying to control. She's trying to control what's happening to Jughead. She's like, oh, like, I don't want you to be a serpent because, like, you know, obviously that's bad. And then my favorite part is in the scene where they're at Pops and she's like explaining to him how the serpents work as if like the serpent Nepo baby would know.
Yeah, he's like, I'm pretty familiar.
But he doesn't have a serpent tattoo.
No, he needs to get one.
The other thing I think about a lot in this episode is this really starts where I really start noticing the biblical references. Like Pop says that the guy who who shot Fred didn't steal the money. He wasn't a thief. He was the angel of death. Like he wasn't like a common thug. And I thought that was really interesting. Like it begins to, and then in the next episode, it really sets up Pops as the heart of Riverdale, like the beating heart of Riverdale.
Yes.
And it really is like a heavy-handed theme in the rest of the show.
Yeah, that is what, like,
which is nice because it's a third space. Like it's nice that the idea that they find importance in this location where kids can go and eat, obviously, but like just exist. Like I don't think Pop is kicking kids out. I mean, they're always buying milkshakes, but it's not like Pop's like, oh, you can't be in here.
Yeah, he's always very welcoming. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because thinking back on the first season, it's like, oh, Pop's not really in this.
Pop himself.
Yeah, he's not really like, well, he's not like around and like speaking in scenes and stuff. Like he is like way more in these first two episodes than he ever is in the entirety of the first season and through the rest of the series. So it's just like, oh, interesting.
Those are my thoughts on the episode.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think I think both of these episodes are kind of like slowing down on the pacing a lot.
Yeah, they have a lot more space to tell a story now because they have 9 more episodes.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I don't think it's like quite as like exciting, but it's like a good like reintroduction back to everybody. So yeah, I think that's it then.
Are you ready for episode 2? Well, chapter 15.
Chapter 15, Nighthawks. Oh, dang it, that's what I forgot to include. Because this is based on a famous painting called Nighthawks. And so on the production draft for the script, they have a really cool picture, like updated of like the Archie characters in it. Let me pull it up real quick. All right, so here's the image. Oh, zoom in on it. Oh, it doesn't really zoom in on that well. But like this, like I recognize this famous painting immediately. And I'm like, oh, that's really fun. Of like Pop, Jughead. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Vegas in the comics. Yeah, and then Archie. Like that's great.
Yeah. Whereas the original painting is of similar, but this is not obviously the original. Nighthawk is a famous painting.
Yes.
That is, I think, based in, is it Philadelphia?
I actually don't know, but it's by Edward Hopper. Let's see.
Oh, it says Phillies on the building.
Oh, okay. Got it. So that makes sense. We can just pull it back up for everybody. This is the the actual painting?
I think it was inspired by a Hemingway short story.
Oh, really?
I think that's literally what it said on the Wikipedia.
Oh, cool. I love it. I haven't read like any Hemingway.
You never read any Hemingway?
No.
Lucky. They made me read things I didn't want to read. I love to read. I was an English major. This is in high school. High school, they made me read. I had to read like Hemingway, and I had to read. Oh, what's the guy I hate? Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Right. I did have to read Gatsby.
But you didn't have to read like. Isn't a Farewell to Arms Hemingway?
Yeah, I didn't read that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Let us get away with murder. Apparently.
I liked Hemingway more than Fitzgerald, but that was just maybe because with Fitzgerald, I constantly thought about the fact that he abused Zelda, you know?
Yeah, that kind of like really taints it all, doesn't it?
You're just like, oh, he'd annoy his wife so that he could model his character after her. Good.
Yeah, that's
good.
cool.
I mean, at least that's the take, you know? I wasn't there.
Right. All right. Yeah, chapter 15, Nighthawks. So this is actually the first episode where Skeet Ulrich has moved up to a starring cast member. So I've applause all around. All right. So we see Pops is closed and defaced with Death's Diner tagged on the side, and Jughead goes inside and finds Pop upset. Archie tries to make breakfast as Fred comes down and finds him overwhelmed. Archie gets a call from Sheriff Keller. Turns out it's actually the deputy returning Archie's numerous phone calls to the sheriff, and Archie can't seem to get a hold of Sheriff Keller. Veronica goes to leave, and Smithers says, hey, maybe take the side exit, as Hiram comes in. It's like, why? So she could avoid me? And he wants her home for dinner, but Veronica shuts him down. Jughead tells the friends about Pops being in a bad state. Betty doesn't want everyone to give up. Betty and Veronica team up to help Pops. Jughead is going to meet his dad's lawyer, and Archie goes with him to drop off flyers at the police station. Archie waits for Sheriff Keller outside his office and rushes after him to talk to him. He wants Sheriff Keller to do more and wants to patrol with the cops. And Keller's like, just let the police handle this, and gets a call for Greendale and tells Archie to let them take care of it. Jughead and FP talk to the lawyer. Jughead wants to know what the plea deal they're offering is. Archie falls asleep on his vigil and hears a noise outside and goes to investigate. It's Jughead coming in, and they both freak out as Archie's got a bat on him. Jughead tells Archie FP is facing 20 years and the lawyer wants him to take the deal or he could be facing 40 years. Jughead says he's scared and Archie says, me too. And Jughead's like, why?
Oh, the boys, the little baby boys.
Betty calls Jughead and says she has an idea to help FP and Pops at the same time and asks him to meet at the mayor's office. Betty notices that Archie's not in his room, so she calls Veronica. Veronica goes to see Archie and is like, hey, where have you been during the nights? Because Betty tells me you haven't been sleeping in your room. Archie tells her that he's been watching the doors. And Veronica says he should go to therapy or maybe the school counselor. Jughead and Betty stop Mayor McCoy and ask her to make Pops a landmark. She says, what if someone else is shot there? If it closes, so be it. Jughead gets mad at her about her dad, and she says, I'm sure he'll get a fair trial. Jughead yells at her for turning her back on FP and Pop Tate. Midge goes to talk to Reggie and asks about getting Jingle Jangle, and he's like, yeah, I can get some for you and Moose. Reggie spots Archie going to meet the school counselor, and Archie's like, well, I wasn't actually going to the counselor. What are you talking about?
I'm just looking in the window.
Yeah, just looking around. Is that against the law? Archie asks if he has anything that'll help him stay awake, and Reggie's like, I got all sorts of drugs, including Jingle Jangle, which also apparently keeps you hard as well. And then Archie says he needs help. Betty, Veronica, and Kevin meet to host an event at Pops. Veronica asks why she wants to protect this place so bad, and Betty talks about her history of growing up there and Jughead's love for it, and if she can do that for him, wouldn't that be great? And then Hiram comes in and is like, can I speak to you, Veronica? And she calls him Daddy, and then Kevin and Betty at the same time go, Daddy?
But Kevin goes, Daddy?
You just need to slice out that part.
It's so funny. I wrote it down, and when I look at my notes, I see Kevin's daddy at Hiram, and I was like, why wouldn't I just write the sheriff? And I was like, oh, Kevin's daddy. I don't really like when people say daddy. You know what I mean? It's not my thing. Mm-hmm. Not like if a little kid calls their dad daddy, it's different. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that's fucking hilarious.
So funny. They talk. Veronica and Hiram talk outside, and he asks her to meet him halfway. And Veronica doesn't think she can go back after everything that's happened. He asks what they were planning and offers to help. Jughead meets with Tallboy to talk about FP and busting him out of jail, and Tallboy's like, you know what? I can actually connect you with someone who could maybe help him out. At Vixen's practice, we see Josie has joined the team. Cheryl is back as well and wants to run the team again. Betty asks if the Vixens can help an event to save Pops, and Cheryl's like, no. Principal Weatherby addresses a class and tells them Grundy was killed. Archie starts to freak out and leaves the classroom. He later tells Fred about worrying about the Black Hood going after people he cares about. Fred plays devil advocate and says, and they don't know what actually happened to Grundy. Jughead visits a Penny Peabody at a tattoo shop. She's a serpent as well, and a lawyer, and knows FP. She says the deal that FP has is garbage, and that if the victim's family can forgive him in front of a judge, it would help a lot. He asks for payment, and she's like, I do you a favor, you do me a favor. All she did was give him advice. Like, and it's really like, oh, okay, yeah, you just have like the defendants forgive him. That's not that good of advice. Not for like what is gonna like later go on the road of like, now you're indentured to me.
Well, as FP tells him at the end of the episode, what is it? You do not want to be in bed with a snake charmer.
She's kind of like the Fae.
Yeah, but she's a serpent. She's got her tattoo.
That's right.
And she went to law school. And being a serpent put her through law school.
That's right. Yeah, they give good grants through the serpents.
They have really good benefits.
You seen those commercials?
It's like they do like a scholarship each year.
That's right. Jughead should apply for it. Archie goes to Alice and tells her about his theory that someone's targeting him. He's asking her to get info on Grundy's death to see if they match the attack. It matches the attack on Fred, and Alice agrees to follow up. Archie
with her friend, the guy at the morgue.
Yeah, exactly, the mortician.
Yeah.
Dr. Curdle. Archie leaves, and Alice tells Betty that Pop is selling the chocolate shop to an anonymous buyer. Veronica comes home and gets a call from Betty. She yells at her dad for buying Pops, and Hiram's like, whoa, I'm not doing that. What are you talking about? Sit down and let me explain. Veronica says, let's talk about Fred, and asks if he had Fred shot, and Hiram's like, absolutely not. Veronica's like, I defended you, and then shows her mom the letter he sent her threatening Hermione. Veronica says, that's the kind of man you're letting back in. And Hermione's like, well, your father didn't write the letter. I did. I just needed you to go along with our plans. And Veronica tells them they deserve each other and leaves. Jughead and Betty visit Thistle House, aka Cheryl's new home, aka the new TikTok house. They have tea with Cheryl and Penelope to ask for their help to reduce FP's sentence, and Cheryl and Penelope both give varying degrees of FP should rot in jail or put to an electric chair, so Betty and Jughead leave upset. Alice visits Dr. Curdle to see Grundy's body. He says it was a crime of passion, and the person who killed her wanted to feel her struggle as she died. He asks if she knew the victim, and Alice says no. Archie sees a man in a mask outside his door and runs out to tackle them. Turns out it's Reggie. Reggie thought it would be funny to play a prank and says if he was a guy with a gun, you wouldn't have been able to actually do anything because bringing a bat to a gunfight's a bad idea.
Yeah, he goes, he had a gun, Andrews. And I'm like, well, Reggie's got the most common sense and also the least common sense.
Right. But I mean, he was able to tackle you, so... Alice tells Archie and Fred about Grundy's death, and there is no sign of force injury, so she must have knew him, and she was killed with the cello bow. The likelihood of the crimes being connected are slim. Betty and Jughead visit Pop. A liquor store chain is apparently buying Pops. Jughead asks for Pop to make FP his favorite meal so he can bring it to him. Betty says this is all unacceptable. Don't sign the papers, Pops, and she says she can fix both things and runs off. Betty visits Cheryl at the locker room. Betty threatens Cheryl with releasing the video of Clifford killing Jason if she doesn't help FP because she saved a copy on Jughead's laptop. Cheryl agrees if she receives the last copy and the rest will be erased. And Betty also says she needs the vixens for Pops. And then Cheryl begrudgingly respects her.
She says, you're a stone cold bitch. With a smile.
It's like, damn.
I was like, that's how you win over Cheryl Blossom.
Mm-hmm. Power. Veronica sits alone at the Blue and Gold as Jughead comes in to talk. She asks why Jughead is in his father's corner now. Jughead says, well, he made an effort to change. Veronica asks if some people can't change. And Jughead says, a lot of things are happening, bad things are happening to people's dads. So maybe if your dad was trying to change, you can try and give him a chance. Archie visits Sheriff Keller and tells him about Grundy having an abusive ex and that he was close with Grundy and he might have found out about him. He gave Grundy the cello bow and the person who killed her is sending him a message. Keller says that Greendale already brought in the ex and he has an airtight alibi, and Archie worries he is going crazy. The Vixens and Kevin are at Pop's cleaning up, but Betty isn't there to help yet. Betty and Jughead are at FP's trial, and Cheryl asks for leniency for FP, but the judge's like, well, I can't ignore all these crimes. Look at the list. And Cheryl looks at Betty, who raises an eyebrow, and Cheryl says, well, I overheard my dad threatening FP in the study to do his bidding. And the judge says, well, we'll have to reevaluate this new information before sentencing.
She's also wearing the spider brooch that she gave to Jughead at the end of the last season.
Took it back.
She said, I'm me again, bitches.
Give me that.
Or she got, I guess if he pawned it, she would have rebought it. Or if he didn't pawn it, she just...
I'm assuming maybe he gave it back to her after, getting her out of the lake.
Oh, maybe.
Pops is empty except for the Vixens and Jughead. Alice arrives alone and says she's writing a story about Pop's downfall. Slowly, people show up, and Josie and Melody show up angry that Betty said on social media that the Pussycats would play at Pop's. They're down Valerie, so Cheryl's like, well, I can perform with you. They then perform a doo-wop cover of Milkshake on the top of Pop's.
Their milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
Yeah, but it's like, damn, right. It's like, yeah, just like,
oh, no,
kind of like nice and pleasant.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is starting to just sound like the original. Archie shows up and goes inside and has PTSD flashbacks. Veronica comes up and helps him and shows him to a booth. Hiram and Hermione show up and they say they're just there to support Veronica. Veronica tells them she's open to a new beginning for all of them and wants complete transparency. Hiram's like, yes, of course. I'm so happy about this. And I'll even make a charitable contribution. Tallboy and the Serpents come in as Alice takes photos of them. Jughead tells Betty that they're probably just here to enjoy the milkshakes. Cheryl comes up and calls Betty and Jughead chimps in captivity for making out.
I love it.
And Jughead hands her the flash drive and thanks her. Reggie makes the most obvious drug drop off to Midge and Moose, and Alice sees and takes photos. Pop announces to the group helping keep Pops open, and that they're going to be able to do that now, thanks to everybody. And the Lodge family also made a large donation, which will help them, weather any storms. Hermione says, we're in the donation business now, to Hiram quietly, and Hiram's like, well, we're not. We actually own the business in exchange for silence. And also, thank you for saying you wrote the letter.
You won, because Pop's going to manage it in exchange for silence.
Oh, there you go. Our four friends catch up on the win. Archie looks around shiftily and sees Dilton staring at him outside. At Thistle House, Cheryl shows her mom the Jason Snuff film. And she's like, I think this will bring you closure. The Lodges come home and find Smithers gone, and Hiram says, oh, his mom fell ill, so he went to take care of her. Here's this new butler. FP calls Jughead and says, you went to Penny and asked, he's like, you went to Penny? How could you do that? And did you pay her? And he's like, well, actually, she just said I owe her a favor. And FP's like, do not contact her again. You don't want to be in bed with the snake charmer. Alice goes to leave Pops and tells Betty several drug deals went down tonight, and Hiram isn't altruistic, and servants now have a hold on the north side now, so all you did today, all your good work is a betting crime in Riverdale. It's like, Jesus.
Says the former Southside Serpent.
Archie meets Dilton late at night and buys a gun off him. Midge and Moose take Jingle Jangle with their car parked in the woods.
Which is just pixie sticks, as far as I can tell.
And then the Black Hood rounds the corner and shoots in the car with a gun. The end.
Okay, so the title of this episode really should have been Daddy Issues.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, I like Nighthawks. I think it's pretty art. I think it's,
I'm assuming that's just in reference to Pops.
Yeah, I think also there's this idea of loneliness and kind of darkness, or a small community in this area, to that.
A community area, where you gather at night.
The world outside is dark, and here we have our light and warmth together.
Mm-hmm.
That this place is a beacon of light and darkness.
That's a much better reading, yeah.
Thank you.
It stands for the milkshake shop that's in the show.
I mean, that's what they're doing with Pops. It's the heart. It's the light.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good.
Thank you. So... But this is all about daddy issues. So Archie's daddy issues are that his dad got shot.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
FP's daddy issues. Maybe, probably. No, Jughead's daddy issues are with FP and he's in jail. And also now he's gotten himself involved with a snake charmer.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that entail and what does that mean?
Jughead seems pretty bad.
Seems bad. So, and then obviously Veronica has Hiram.
Ooh. Hiram is so horrible. We knew off screen that he was horrible. But then all this is thank you for lying on behalf of me when I threatened you in that letter. And also, I actually did buy the thing, and I'm now just pretending that I'm altruistic. Not altruistic. I'm being open with my daughter.
Why lie to her?
Because he wants to do the thing he wants to do and knows that she'll never forgive him for buying this institution.
That's true.
She would never trust that he would do something responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
And she's right.
She's correct. She knows him. And then Betty's mommy issue is Alice.
Ooh.
And Cheryl's taking care of her mother. She said, I no longer have issues.
It's so funny just having Penelope like wrapped up around things. And I like their new little house, their little new greenhouse. Yeah, exactly.
Their manor that is still huge. They downsized.
Which you connected. You're like, oh, Thistle from Thornhill.
Thornhill to Thistle.
Pretty good.
I thought that was really cute. But I think Alice is the worst.
Yeah. Alice is horrible.
Alice is like, no, there's crime on the north side of town. And I'm like, girl, you were here doing journalism, so yes.
Betty is having the worst time because she just wants to... She's doing the thing where her only worth is if she can try and like...
fix things for people.
Mm-hmm. And so she's running around all over town in this episode trying to like help Jughead, trying to help Pops, trying to like make things like work for everybody. And then goes out of her way to like go after Cheryl, which Cheryl, again, begrudgingly respects. So it works out. Mm-hmm. And then her mom has the audacity to come up and it's like, all your work just made things so much worse. Mm-hmm. Even though she's just in her corner judging people, writing and taking pictures.
Yes. It's also interesting because obviously Betty, Jughead, etc., they're fighting for this and they're helping Archie reclaim this like heart and soul and beacon of light in Riverdale. And Alice is just like, it's just a shithole. I'm like, Alice, move, baby.
I know.
Leave town.
You got a nice home. I'm sure that'll go for some money.
Yeah. It's very odd. I'm like, why stay in a town you hate?
Right.
It seems like
she loves
a drama.
Uh-huh. That pot stir.
That's very true. Very true.
It's also so funny. She's like, I saw several drug deals go down tonight, and it's Reggie selling drugs.
It's also like the kids do drugs. It's like it's designer drugs. It's not like, oh, the kids are doing heroin. It's like they're doing pixie sticks. Literally, they dump pixie sticks in their mouth. I mean, I think it's supposed to be Molly. Like, I think that's what like the MDMA is the vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also because that would make sense for like the drugs that were popular at this time.
Yes.
And from what they say the drugs do, for the most part, I'm like, okay, this all kind of fits with Molly.
Except for Reggie, will be like, everything will be on the up there, Archie.
I'm like, oh.
Okay.
It's actually just Cialis.
Right, exactly. Does nothing for Midge.
But Jingle Jangle is like it's the funniest plot line to me because they just use pixie sticks. Mm-hmm. And they said we can show drug use if we make it sugar.
If we just make it candy.
I think it's hilarious. And then we have Archie getting a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So if crime is, like if there's this darkness seeping into Riverdale, what does Archie having a gun mean? Like, is he vigilante or is he just a problem?
Right.
Archie has a gun.
We're looking at those two things you set up there, and it's just a circle.
Archie has a gun, and people are getting shot. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's trying to be the good guy with the gun. Isn't that a nice little complicated scenario that we have here? That the perception that the town is getting worse. And then so the people from the rich side start arming themselves and getting protective about the poor people potentially being in town. And also the person that's in charge of the news.
It's preying on the people that are scared too. It's the scared, because Archie's not Veronica or even like Betty wealthy. Fred does not have the money that the Coopers have.
No, not at all.
Not that the Coopers have... The craziest part about this is that these people all have like mediocre jobs and have these beautiful homes because they must have bought during the recession or before.
Right. They at least like own the paper.
That's true.
So they own like an institution in town.
But I remember, isn't there a comment where Jughead makes that the budget at the school paper is probably higher than the one at the register?
That's actually true, yeah. Never mind.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also the person who's like talking shit on a bunch of things in town and stuff, who we know is Alice, being the most yellow journalist there is, just stirring shit up for her paper. And where does that get printed? And how does that impact how the rest of the people view, say, Southside and the rest of the town? Mm-hmm. We have no framework of this in real life, so we wouldn't know.
No. This has never happened. The media has never been biased.
No, there's not an entire station that's built around stoking people's fears.
Only one?
Yep, see, there you go.
What I really like about this episode is boys talking about fear, like Jughead and Archie both doing their like, I'm scared. Veronica being like, you should go to therapy. Of course he doesn't, but Veronica's like, maybe instead of getting a gun, you should go to therapy.
Right.
Which
boys would rather buy a firearm.
It's what they do.
Yeah.
Boys buy firearms instead of going to therapy. Go to therapy. If you know a man, send him to therapy.
Yeah. Worked for me.
It did. You weren't buying firearms, though.
No.
You were just a little stressy.
Exactly.
I think it's a little...
You know, the cure for anxiety, for the most part, isn't really a gun.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. Maybe someone should tell Archie that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really interesting about this episode specifically, that's like one small detail, is the Smithers aspect, that Hiram is like, oh, Smithers' mom fell ill, so there's this new guy, and it's like a younger guy. Like, it's supposed to be, it's very obviously supposed to be a distraction for Veronica. It's like, this isn't Smithers. Smithers is biased towards you, as we saw in the other episode. Or was it the beginning of this one?
Beginning of this one.
So Smithers is gone, and there's this guy, and you know, maybe Smithers will be back. Yeah. And you're like, Veronica already she wants to forgive her dad, but she sees all this evidence stacking up. And it's just interesting because they do that. And then later she has that conversation with Jughead, and Jughead's like, well, you know, since everyone's dads, you never know what's going on. Then
it ends up actually being really bad advice.
It's horrible advice. It's just really funny because you're like, normally you'd be like, yeah, maybe like forgive. But I'm like, never forgive a man. Never forgive a man.
And never forgive a parent without like actual, or just people in general, I guess, without like them making actionable steps first.
Yeah, you have to actually show that you're changing.
Yeah.
And Hiram's not doing that. But he's pretending.
Exactly. World-class manipulator.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. In the last episode, it's all about like the kids trying to have control, and in this, it's really like the adults trying to take control. Like even FP's like, don't talk to her, like from inside the jail. Like it's Alice is like, don't do this. Like look what you're doing to the town. Like it's a really good push and pull.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got for you today.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't think I got much else. There's not a whole lot, I don't think, to dig into on these ones, or at least the second one too. So
just daddy issues, and Pops is the beating heart of Riverdale.
That's right.
And sometimes bleeding heart of Riverdale.
Yeah, but they cleaned it all up. It's gonna be all good now.
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned for next episode.
And where is Fred Andrews' wallet?
I don't remember at all. I really don't remember the second season. I remember certain aspects of second season, but not this part.
I'm pretty sure I remember like the why behind most of these.
Yeah, we can talk off mic.
Yes. Well, if you have a theory and you haven't seen it before, leave it in the comments. Don't ruin it for the other people who are watching it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen it before and you want to discuss, you can email us, and then it's private. You can send that to deadendspcast@gmail.com.
That's right. It's in the description box of all our episodes.
Mm-hmm. You can find this on all your audio platforms, audio podcast platforms. Is that how you usually say it?
That's how I usually say it.
And
but you can say it however you like.
Thank you. You can find this on all your audio podcast platforms. Leave us a review. Make it 5 stars, please, because that's nice. And I think it pushes us out to other people. And don't you want other people to have to listen to us struggle through trying to solve mysteries that we've seen before?
That's right. Being like, huh?
We're like, wait, this happened here?
Yeah. Wait, she came in this episode?
You can also watch us on YouTube. We're dead ends on YouTube. We're on Blue Sky. It's in our link tree. And we both have
dead dash ends.
Oh, there you go. Dead dash ends. We have our own personal Blue Skies. They're in our link trees in the description. And is that it?
I think that's it.
Well, we're still here. No, that's not it. Oh my gosh.
We are still here, but that's not this show.
We don't fit in.
We're not gonna fit in.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.